Hello, everyone. I'm Karin Marquez, Chief Public Safety Brand Officer at RapidSOS. We're so glad you could spend part of your day with us here at Ready23. If you're not familiar with RapidSOS, RapidSOS is an intelligent safety platform that securely links life-saving data to monitoring centers, 911, and field responders during emergencies. At Ready23, we aim to foster a sense of unity and shared purpose among all stakeholders in the emergency response ecosystem. Ready23 is an opportunity to connect, collaborate, and catalyze change in the world of public safety and emergency response. We encourage you to actively engage on this virtual event platform, Whova, and participate in this event. Don't forget about your chat features and your live Q&A questions. And with that today, I'm excited to be joined by a panel of public safety experts, Michelle Potts and Chris Henningsen. So can each of you introduce yourself and shed a little bit of light on why you're here talking about emergency response? Michelle, we'll start with you.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. I'm Michelle Potts. I'm with the Chandler Police Department. I'm currently the Communications Technology Senior Manager. Spent the last 27 years in communications and working towards what does that next generation of a comm center look like. So my current role, we are working on that next gen type of technology in communications. We're building a real-time crime center and then kind of evaluating what's on the horizon. What do we want to bring in to make us work more efficiently?
Excellent. Chris?
Sure. My name is Chris Henningsen. I'm currently the supervisor of our real-time crime center at Scottsdale Police Department and have been with our department for a little over 20 years and have helped develop our center. When I'm not with our center, I'm the president of the National Real-Time Crime Center Association, which was developed about a year and a half ago to really help agencies create real-time centers. Our four focus areas is DICE, so development, innovation, collaboration, and education. Our association is here to help agencies develop centers, help identify innovative ways to provide them the technology that they need for their center. We collaborate with our agencies as well as technology partners, and then education on helping agencies get the education they need to get their center up and running and help train their employees.
Excellent. I'm so excited and really appreciative of you both being here today. Today, our discussion is going to center around the sudden rise in real-time crime centers. So for those that don't know, real-time crime centers have been around since about 2005, but over the last 3 years, we've really seen a rise in agencies standing up these real-time crime, or also known as a real-time information center or real-time operations center. So Chris, why do you think there's an increase and what is driving this nationwide?
Sure. So technology in regards to real-time centers have been around since 2005. NYPD was the first one to start theirs. Within about 10 years, up to 2015, there was about 20 or 25 centers. In the last 10 years, there's been a major increase, especially in the last few years, with the shortage of law enforcement within patrol. A lot of chiefs are really moving forward on developing real-time centers to help provide bodies in multiple different locations. As an example, somebody in a real-time center can watch 4 or 5 intersections. In order for somebody in patrol, you're going to have to put a body at each of those intersections. So you can see a lot more with having a real-time center. Just like you mentioned, there's real-time information centers and real-time crime centers. Any center that utilizes the word real-time, that means that there's some type of video technology within there. There are other centers out there like crime analyst centers that don't have that video technology. And so with real-time centers, you're able to virtually respond digitally to different locations. So when someone calls 911, we dispatch law enforcement to that call. And now with real-time centers, once someone calls 911, a real-time center employee is looking at cameras to provide real-time intelligence to what's going on for the first responders to identify, do they need more officers? Do they need less? Do they need specialty officers like canines or a drone or some type of other specialty unit to respond with them to that call?
Awesome. What are some of the real-time center models that you've seen across the country, maybe big and small?
So again, a lot of agencies that have centers now, we're probably at a 300 to 400 window of real-time centers across the country. There are 18,000 law enforcement agencies. In the last year, our association has seen a major increase of agencies that have developed centers. In regards to what a center may look like, I will tell you, I've seen probably well over 100 centers virtually and had multiple conversations with them. I have never seen a cookie cutter of my center is just like Scottsdale or my center is just like Chandler. They go and they tour centers and then they come back to their home agency and say, I like what Chandler has. I like what Las Vegas has. I like what New Orleans has. And they adopt those type of service sets that they provide to their patrol or their detectives. Again, every center is a little bit differently. Some provide information to patrol. Some provide information to investigations. I can tell you, Scottsdale, we provide information to anybody within our police department that needs that information, all in real time.
Excellent. Well, speaking of what Chandler is doing, Michelle, share with us, what are you all doing there and why?
Sure. So we are in the midst of building a real-time crime center and developing the tools, putting them all together, and kind of developing the entire program. But our process started, I would say, back in 2015 when we started bringing in all kinds of different tools. And what we wanted to do in communications was communicate with our community in the way that people communicate every day. And then we wanted to have the best information as soon as possible so we could relay that to the field responding units so they could make the informed decision. So backing up from kind of that goal, then we started looking at different technologies. So we brought in RapidSOS to have the most effective, the best location possible as early as possible. We did bring in non-emergency text, picture, and video, live stream video, traffic cameras, mall cameras. And so we started bringing in a lot of these tools, and then we started realizing there is so much information in here that we didn't realize at the outset. And then, we have a great team that knows how to be creative and be curious and dig into these tools, and they find really great use cases, things that we in management would never think of. And so we almost use communications unintended at the beginning and then maybe a little bit more purposeful towards later on years as a proof of concept for a real-time crime center. So what could be if we had more information from the time that we say hello on 911 until the officer says hello. So that's kind of the phrase that we've used is hello to hello. And then even backing it up now. So now we have gunshot detection tools and any kind of sensor that's out there. So you can get information long before the 911 call even comes in. So that takes a lot of employee interaction with these tools. And so a real-time crime center is really, I think, a good fit for us. So we did go and do the site visits like Chris is talking about, and where we started with our plan did not end up the same after a lot of those site visits. So some of these models are all civilian, some are all sworn. It seems like it's trending into more of a hybrid because of the different skill sets. So whether it's, an intel type of skill set or dispatcher skill set, an analyst skill set, it's, your own agency, its own personality really. And then what's the problem you're trying to solve within your own agency? So that's kind of where we're at. We were originally going to be housed in communications like Scottsdale. And then we ended up moving ours into a designated space that we're building right now. And we're going to partner with Intel because some of the lessons that we've learned from some of the other site visits that we've done. So then we'll have to look at what those tools bring to the real-time crime center and then how it's going to be kind of bifurcated into communications. But everybody needs the tools so we can provide those service levels.
Yep, that's awesome. Chris, how does the availability of more data, we talk about tools and all of the data and information that it brings. How does more of that help you build the gap between communications and real-time centers?
So with us in Scottsdale, we started in our dispatch center because that's where the available desk was. Through conversations and collaborations with our communication center, which I know we've talked about it earlier, is that it's really important to have real-time centers have a collaborative connection with their communication center so that everyone is working together. It's a collaborative effort between dispatch to real time to patrol or to investigations for that matter. And so that collaborative element is really important. We also understand that speaking to agencies across the country, there's a shortage, not in just patrol, but there's sometimes a shortage in communications too. So with that said, and there's a lot of 911 calls coming in, there may be steps that are skipped, not intentionally, but they are skipped. And so having real time kind of help fulfill or help partner on some of these opportunities. A good example is someone's going where you got a 911 call being dispatched, and dispatch provides all the information that they feel is appropriate. And they might miss that there's a kid that maybe has autism that doesn't like sirens and sirens going to the call. So maybe real time can step in to help that out. Or if there's a collision and there's a collision activation, real time can see that based off the data that was in RapidSOS, there should be 4 people in that car, but they only see 3 people by the car. Now, real time can utilize their technology of cameras to search the roadway to see if somebody potentially got ejected.
Yeah, you give so many great examples of how that data can be used. And also, I think relationships are really important between our law enforcement, fire, EMS communities, and our communication center. And Michelle, I know a lot of what you've done in bringing these tools and technologies in has been very much instrumental in your efforts to, support everything you're doing in Chandler, from creating multimedia roles and positions to now growing into this real-time crime center. Using these tools and these data, different data points, can you share maybe any experiences where, you've had positive outcomes just because you had those tools as well?
Sure. So one of the things that's great about the RapidSOS platform is that location accuracy. And so what we can do is we can, similar to what Chris was mentioning, is we can go to the right camera the first time. So sometimes on one intersection, there'll be 4 different cameras. But if we know from the location that's plotted on the map, we can go to the right one first and we can get that information out very quickly. So we do similar things. We'll put out social media blasts if we see that this is a good traffic collision and it's going to be backed up. We want people to steer clear of the area. So we can make very early decisions. We can call a traffic, some of our traffic units or something if it's, and similarly, we can downgrade it as well. So we've been able to say, oh, it's not a head-on collision as reported. They kind of clipped on the bumper or something. So we can escalate or de-escalate on the response very early on. We can also, similar to the different school types of initiatives that are out there, we can have multiple screens running at the same time and keep an eye out for maybe a pursuit vehicle that maybe we lost or something. We can 4-point different intersections and be able to just keep an eye out for that. So there's a lot of use cases, and it's really interesting to see what the users, the dispatchers are able to come up with.
Yeah, when you put that data into their hands, right? Chris, you mentioned a couple of technologies. Your real-time center is using RapidSOS as that first eyes on scene as patrol is en route. What other kinds of tools or technology are really instrumental in your efforts to support real-time crime and what you do in Scottsdale?
So I think when you develop a real-time center, the one thing that really helped us out in Scottsdale is we met with our technology division and asked for a list of all of our technology. Once you do that, you're able to go through and identify that's an investigative tool, or that's a tool that we use in communications, or that's a tool that we use for the schools. And once you start to apply those different technologies, they may help you in your own real-time center. Again, every real-time center is a little bit different. So for us, every tool that we have that's available in Scottsdale PD, our real-time center has access to. It's the technology hub of all the tools, so we don't have to depend on a detective unit to wait for them to get involved to utilize that tool. Our folks can use it right away. A good example is if we have a domestic violence call that we're on, we will actually look at that call, run the phone number through a variety of our different tools that we have. And once we identify that that number may be involved in human trafficking, or that number may be involved in something else, that allows us to call patrol and let them know, hey, that number, we just ran it and it's tied to a human trafficking ad. Now they're able to get human trafficking unit to come out and actually investigate this call, realizing that that domestic violence, yes, it is domestic violence, but it's also tied to human trafficking.
Wow, that's amazing. That is one testimonial. Are there other specific testimonials or saves that you can share with the work that you're doing in Scottsdale?
Sure. So I'll talk about a Scottsdale training exercise we did. We did it about a year ago now. It took about 4 months to plan it. We had a little over 200 volunteers on the day of at one of our middle schools. And when we were just starting our center, our unit, and the planners really wanted to get us involved in that aspect, especially with everything that was going on around the country and the schools. And so when we asked, what do you want us to do? We want you to do everything you normally do. I emphasize, I don't think you really want us to do that, but we will. So the day of the training exercise, again, it was all training. It was a Saturday. There was about 200 volunteers. We had about 100 law enforcement there, chiefs from around the valley, as well as superintendents from other school districts there. It's supposed to be a 2-hour exercise, and there were supposed to be a variety of elements to it, like a hostage situation, shots fired at our officers, as well as the kids. We had a lot of kids that did a lot of makeup. And I say all this so that you have an idea of what the situation was supposed to be. With real time, again, our employee had only seen the campus for about a half hour a week ago or so. Prior to that, he got in at the same time that our officers were dispatched to the call from a training perspective. And the first call was two suspects had shot one of our officers at the school. Our technician, Marquez Hernandez, did a great job. He went in there and actually went into the cameras, identified where those two shooters were, routed patrol that was into that call to those shooters to apprehend them. And there was supposed to be a third guy that's supposed to come out about an hour into the training scenario, but he was walking around with a gun in another building. And Marcos did a great job on identifying that individual has a gun in his hand, and was able to direct patrol to that other suspect, apprehend that individual. Meanwhile, my command staff is in a room along with some other superintendents. The whole scenario was done in 10 minutes. I will preface this that I had a lot of commanders a little upset at my unit for about a month because we ruined the scenario. But those superintendents from other school districts went to my chief and said, I'm ready to sign if you're able to get real time involved. You were able to close that whole scenario down in less than 10 minutes and apprehend everybody and put them in custody. And so, but that's how, and those commanders that are involved in that will tell you today, they're my number one promoters of our real-time center. They go around to different community partners, different stakeholders within our city that own commercial buildings, and really recommend that they should do a partnership with us. We are at about almost 4,000 cameras within real time for Scottsdale, 2,500 of which are owned by the community. We only utilize those cameras for real-time active calls for service. We don't go into those cameras for anything else but a active call for service at those properties.
That is so amazing. You know, everything that we're trying to do with technology outcomes, and you proved that even if you weren't supposed to, right? We're using technology to save lives. And even if it was in a scenario showing that in that scenario, that technology was there to make those arrests, to save those lives, proves what could happen in the unfortunate event that you do have an active shooter. So, you know, kudos to all that you're doing there. It's very, very impressive. And I am actually very excited to see this marriage between real-time crime and the ECC world. So with that, Michelle, how do you envision real-time crime and communications truly working together? And you kind of alluded to some things just a little bit ago, but what we got to think about what tools should be shared, can be shared, and how are you thinking about that transition?
Sure. So, our number one goal is to not reduce service levels. So, our community has been accustomed to this. Our dispatchers have been accustomed to being able to provide these services through this technology. And so, one of the things that we're working on right now is, integrations. Who needs to see what? Who needs to see it when? And then what is that going to look like for the user? So, who's going to be the primary user of RapidSOS? That's going to be our dispatchers. Traffic cameras. If real time is up, the traffic cameras are probably going to be used primarily by our real-time crime center operators first, and complementing the dispatch response too. So what we're trying to figure out is, tactical mapping. Where is that going to go? Maybe it goes into two different systems. We want them to have the tools, but maybe it looks a little bit different on the user interface. And then being able to prioritize what that workflow is going to look like. So I think it's an exciting time that we can really, create a relationship from scratch. And I think, this is a great opportunity to come from communications and be able to, start building this real-time crime center where the two kind of live in the same lane to a certain extent. But we just need to figure out what that future looks like.
Awesome. And then Chris, for you from the law enforcement perspective, how do you envision real-time crime and ACCs working together, and what tools should be shared?
So I'd be remiss not to mention my communications manager, Karin Sutherland. She, in the very beginning when we started the planning, she was involved. And so it's really important that I feel that you get your communication manager involved when you start developing your real-time center, because there are a lot of great resources that they have access to. But at the end of the day, real-time centers, you're creating a brand new lane in your organization, a lane that has never been traveled before, because someone calls 911 and then we dispatch, kind of like that hello to hello, like Michelle was saying. Now real time fits in between those two hello to hellos to provide real time information of what's going on at the scene to either increase the amount of patrol or decrease the amount of patrol. But at the end of the day, communication is the key aspect. I meet regularly with Karin to figure out, making sure that my folks aren't kind of going into her lane as well as her folks aren't coming into my lane. But I also meet with Intel, I meet with crime analysis unit, I meet with patrol, as well as I also meet with our traffic management center to make sure that we're all collaborating together. And as as we go through the year, there are programs that they want that may be beneficial to us, as well as there's programs that we want that may be beneficial to them. And if we can get multiple different departments involved or sections involved or units involved, so that we can collaborate together, that's the most important aspect.
Awesome. We're going to take just a minute to ask, and maybe Chris, I'll have you just go ahead and start this. How do you envision the evolution of emergency response technology, maybe over the next decade or so, maybe challenges or opportunities that you see?
So again, it's always going to start with the communication center. And then once it's been dispatched, you have your real-time center play a role on trying to identify what's going on. Again, we have up to 4,000 cameras, but that doesn't mean I have cameras throughout the entire city. So there are a lot of areas that I don't have any investigative tools, or I don't have any cameras nearby or resources. So we play just a small role. But I think as organizations grow and they develop real-time centers, it's just another opportunity to complement communications as well as complement patrol. So we're not leading patrol in the direction of just what that 911 caller is telling us, because sometimes they tell us false information just to either ambush us or get us into a situation that we're not really ready for. And allowing real-time centers to play that role to kind of help out identify what they're about ready to walk into, and allow them the opportunity, and their families to allow them the opportunity to go home safely every night is automatically the most important aspect for our job.
Absolutely. Michelle, what about you? New technology over the next decade, opportunities and challenges that you foresee?
Sure. So we talked about hello to a hello. I think backing it up before hello. I think that is going to be what we see in the future. So sensors that are out there, acoustic sensors of any kind. So a sensor that hears a traffic collision and automatically turns on a camera and alerts the real-time crime center operator, or maybe it's communications. I mean, that is instantaneous information that can be vetted before patrol goes out there. Gunshot detection, we already have tools out there that are like that. License plate readers, those are hitting on, any kind of wanted vehicle. And, you could do a proactive approach to those as well. So I think any sensor that you can dream up, I think we're going to start seeing it. I was at a site visit in another state, and they have ankle monitoring for probation or parole or something like that. So, if you can put that in the same tool to be able to see what else is happening around in that area, and that is a potential lead or at least a starting point for a conversation, that is a huge time saver. So I think sensors are going to be the real future for the immediate future, I would say.
Exciting. Chris, do you know of any real-time crime centers that are mobile ever?
Yeah,
That's a
so
question from the community.
NYPD does have a mobile real-time crime center. They when that deployment goes, real-time center, the building itself is going to be the first to respond to see what they have. But depending on the situation, NYPD, of course, already has this. Other agencies are looking at this. If it becomes a major scene, there are agencies that are looking at deploying little vans that go out and they connect up with the command van as well. But their focus is really just real-time technology around that area, investigative workups, just trying to play a different role than what maybe that command van would play.
Wow, interesting. I love this topic so much, and I want to thank the both of you so much for being here, generously sharing your insights, experiences, and backgrounds with us today. Super grateful to have you as part of the RapidSOS Ready community. And just want to thank you once again for everything. For our attendees, thank you so much for joining this session. If you have questions or you want to connect, even with our panelists, please feel free to reach out to me at kmarquez@rapidsos.com or connect with me on LinkedIn. We have more engaging sessions lined up, so be sure to explore them and more on the Whova platform. So thank you for being part of this session today, and we'll see you in the next one.